All right. So we're going to get started here. Let's see. All right. Can everyone see the slideshow? If your video's on, can you do a thumbs up if you can see that? Welcome to Chair Yoga. Yeah? Okay, great. So if you're new to this group, you're welcome to type your name in the chat box. This session will be recorded, so you're always welcome to come back to our YouTube channel later to take a look at it, and we can drop the link to our YouTube channel in the chat so that you can access that. What I'm going to ask is that so that everyone has the best experience today, that y'all stay muted while we have our practice, and I'll keep my microphone on. And then at the end, there'll be an opportunity that you can unmute and share how you're feeling or any thoughts you have about class or questions that you might have. Let's see if I can go to our next slide. Yeah, so at the bottom here, you'll see a phone number that you can call to get in touch with GoGoGrandparent if you have any questions about GoGo. That's 1-855-464-6872. Let's see. And so with that same phone number, that'll connect you to rides, meals, grocery services, medication delivery, and also like home maintenance services as well. And great, so we have a referral code. I actually didn't know that. So you can use, there's a referral code, I guess, at the bottom of your GoGo receipt. And you can use that code if you ever refer a friend to GoGo, and that'll get you $10 in credit. So take a look at your receipts and find that code if you want to refer a friend. That's awesome. I didn't know about that. So there's also a Facebook group. If you enjoy this community and you'd like to connect with people outside of class, you're welcome to join the Facebook group. And there's a link for that here on the slide, but you're also welcome to click the link that V is going to add into our chat box if you'd like to connect on Facebook. Lastly, here's a picture of me. My name is Caro. I live in Austin, Texas with my 2 kids, and I love teaching yoga. I specialize in chair yoga, which is what we'll be doing today. And I teach a senior strong class at my local Y, which I really love. And one of the things I love the most is that it's an opportunity to really just listen into how we're feeling. So we're not going to push into anything that feels pinchy or uncomfortable or painful. We're going to stay within a range of motion that just feels interesting. Maybe access a little bit of curiosity about how we're feeling so that we can stretch and strengthen and find some balance together today. After our class, I'll open things up, like I mentioned, so that you can share how you feel about the class, any questions that you might have. All right. Last of all, you know, I think each of us is an expert in our own body and what feels good. So you get to choose what chair feels most supportive to you for our practice. I don't know if you can see my chair. It's a really standard chair. It just doesn't have wheels. So I recommend picking a chair that doesn't have wheels so you're not sort of rolling around during our practice. So a chair that feels sturdy and supportive for you today. All right, let's move. Let me just stop sharing. And here we go. All right, so I have been spotlighted, so you should see me nice and big, but if you don't, you can always go up to the right-hand corner and select view and then select speaker, and that will make me really big on your screen so you can see me. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Here we go. All right, so if you want to, one way to begin your practice today would be to sit into your chair and maybe scoot back into your chair. So possibly leaning back to sort of welcome the support of your chair You may find that your legs want to get comfortable. You could rest your hands on your legs. Now, I've taken off my shoes today, but if you have shoes on, that's perfectly okay as well. Really, whatever feels most comfortable for you today. To begin your practice, if you want to, there's an option to close your eyes for just a moment. And the idea here is just to give ourselves the opportunity to sort of arrive to our practice. So if you choose to close your eyes, you may find that you can begin to notice what it feels like to breathe. So you may feel a kind of expanding or growing larger in your belly as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, you may find that there's a sort of release or softening in your belly or your stomach. Now, these sensations of breathing are going to be a little different for each of us. There's all sorts of ways you may notice what it feels like to breathe. As you inhale, you may feel sensation in your belly or your chest. As you exhale, you may feel that sort of dropping down or lowering. And just continuing to breathe for a few more cycles at your own pace. The more you can deepen your breath in and lengthen your breath out, the more you're letting your body know that this is a safe place. The more you're letting all of your muscles and your nervous system know that this is the time that it's safe to move and breathe, maybe finding a sense of rest or peace or calm. Now, you could keep breathing here for the next 45 minutes, and that would be a complete yoga practice, right? Connecting your awareness to your breath. It's really just up to you if you want to begin finding movement. So one way you could start to find movement would be to move your fingers or your toes in some way. Now, it may feel useful to circle your wrist, and you may find it interesting to sort of extend your legs, and maybe you want to circle your ankles in some way. So maybe getting out a few snap, crackle pops out of our ankle joints, a couple circles. If it feels inviting, you could stretch your arms up. I like to think about this as if we just woke up in the morning, we're just taking a big stretch, breathing in. And as you exhale, you could bring your arms down. Maybe you plant your feet, and maybe you choose to scoot forward any amount. So we want to firmly plant our feet into the ground so that our heels are beneath our knees, maybe lengthening up through your spine so that there's some space between your back and your chair, and then beginning to sort of lean side to side. So leaning or rocking from right to left is one way to start adding movement into our practice. And you may start to feel a sort of lengthening or stretching sensation into the side of your body. You could continue from right to left, or it's possible that that movement starts to become more of a circle. So maybe circling your torso through the air. And this will bring all sorts of sensation, maybe a stretch into your lower back, maybe a kind of warming up feeling into your hip joints or the backs of your legs. And you could change directions here. And you can really change directions as many times as you'd like. Sometimes changing directions can feel really useful, really paying attention to how your back is feeling today. Now, this circular movement is something you could come back to at any point during our time together. If you feel ready for something a little different, one option would be to lean forward and sort of lift through your heart. So I'm going to turn to the side so you can kind of get a sense of this movement. Sometimes it's called a spinal wave. We want to lift through our heart and maybe lean forward. So you may notice your hands sort of coming up towards your hips. And then as we exhale, you could bring your fingertips towards your knees and maybe rounding. So you may find that you're sort of tucking your tailbone, rocking back, maybe bowing your head. So that as you inhale, you could bring your hands back towards your hips, arching and leaning forward. Exhaling, rounding, rocking back. Sometimes in our yoga practice, this is called cat and cow. So that as we exhale, we're finding that rounded spine of the cat. As we inhale, we're letting our belly get big, finding our cow, and sort of continuing from side to side. And really, we're just looking for an opportunity to let our spine articulate in a way maybe we haven't let it move today, finding our range of motion, warming up. At any point when you feel ready for a different sensation, you could explore inhaling to lean forward, keeping length in your spine. And then as you exhale, we could hinge back. So instead of rounding, we're just leaning back until you feel your abdominals start to engage to support you. Then as you breathe in, you could come forward and then exhale to lean back. So this is more of a core strengthening movement. You may want to exhale as you lean back, sort of knitting together your abdominals. And then as you inhale, you could lean forward, finding that big, big belly. Exhaling, drawing your belly button in towards your spine and inhaling to come forward. Now, any core strengthening we do is sort of a gift we're giving to our lower back. So if you'd like to continue this movement, strengthening your core, you could even pause, leaning back for a moment, breathing here. For as long as you choose. And then whenever you feel ready, we're going to lean forward any amount. This time we're going to pause forward. You could keep your hands on your knees. Another option would be to bring your elbows to your knees. Now, whichever one of those you've chosen, you have the option of leaning side to side. Now, what this is going to do is maybe bring some sensation towards the side of your back, kind of right underneath your rib cage. You may even feel this in your mid back. You're interested in a little bit of a spinal twist today. As you rock from side to side, you could also lower one shoulder and then the other. Now, what that's going to do is maybe bring more of a stretch kind of underneath your shoulder blades, your mid back. And as you drop your left shoulder forward, you could look to the right, sort of looking behind you. And then as you drop your right shoulder, you could explore looking to the left. And that will just sort of complete your twist from side to side. Noticing how you're breathing as you go from left to right. We'll start to come through what feels like center for you, breathing in. As you exhale, you have the option of coming as far forward as you'd like. Now, you may notice you want to bring your hands down to your feet or the ground. You're welcome to bow your head forward. And we'll pause here in our forward fold. It could be a little bit of leaning or rocking from side to side. There's really no rush. So any kind of forward fold is sometimes called an inversion. It's really a chance to sort of let your head melt below your heart, increasing the strength of our circulation. Now, if you'd like, you could stay here. Or whenever you're ready, I'd invite you to move pretty slowly, bringing your hands to your knees and starting to look forward. So as we come out of a forward fold, we want to give our head plenty of time to make its way back above our heart, moving slowly, breathing the whole time. Maybe you want to reach up to breathe in. And as you exhale, you could bring your palms together towards the center of your chest. As we inhale, maybe diving upward. And as you exhale, you could reach your arms back and all the way down. Go ahead and rest our hands maybe on our legs. And there's an option of lifting one heel and then the other. So sort of coming to your tippy toes, one foot at a time. We're sending our awareness down into our feet. You could continue lifting one foot and then the other, or for a little bit of a different sensation, you could lift both heels and then take sort of a circular movement with your heels through the air. You could take that in both directions, sort of lifting into our ankle joint, our feet, our toes. And we'll start to land our heels so that if you choose to, you could explore lifting one foot off of the ground and then the other. Now, we've talked about this in previous classes, but I'm just going to repeat it because I think it's important to remember that you're welcome to lift one foot and then the other with your resting on your leg. You could also use your hands and the strength of your arms to sort of lift and lower your legs, finding that mobility into your hip joint. Noticing how you're breathing as you're moving. Now, the next time that you are lifting your left knee, if you choose to, you could pause here. Now, maybe you want to hold on to your shin or your leg. And if you're really rounding in your spine, this could be an opportunity to lift and lengthen up, finding your full spinal height. And maybe find some movement in your toes, circling your ankle. So maybe you want to point and flex. It sounds like maybe somebody has unmuted. So I don't know, V, if you're able to make sure everyone's muted so we all have the best audio experience. And you could continue moving your toes, or for a little bit of a different sensation, you could soften your foot. Then we'll take our knees side to side. Now you may feel some sensation here, sort of into your left hip joint. You could also guide your knee in more of a circular pattern. Really listening into our hip joint, our left leg. Now, this movement may feel really interesting. You're welcome to continue this movement. Or maybe you'd like to check in with your hip joint in a different way. So you could bring your ankle up to your knee, flexing your foot. If for whatever reason this feels uncomfortable or you're just not enjoying it, you could also slide your foot down so we're sort of crossing at the ankle. Either way, inhaling to lift to your full spinal height. And if you'd like, on your exhale, you could lean forward any amount. And as we breathe in, maybe we rise back up. And then as we exhale, possibly coming forward and then inhaling back up. So that as you exhale, we can go ahead and plant both of our feet. Maybe we bounce our heels, finding a little softness in our feet today. Now, before we take that on the other side, one option would be to come right back to that side to side movement we found earlier, maybe a couple circles in each direction. So sort of lifting back into our lower back. If you want to, you could inhale for a full circle and exhale for a full circle as well. Trying that in both directions. Then starting to make your way back towards what feels like center or neutral for you. And maybe you start to lift your right knee up towards your body. Now, again, you could hold on to your shin or your leg, any way that feels supportive for you. If we're really rounding here, we could inhale a lift in your heart, finding your spinal height. And then maybe you want to circle your toes, your ankle. Really listening into our ankle, our toes, a lot of the kind of muscles that support around our ankle up into our calf, our shin. And then if you want to, there's also that option of sort of moving your right knee side to side. And what that may do is bring some sensation into your hip or the side of your hip here on the outside, possibly a circle or two, finding maybe some increased mobility into our hip joint. Once you feel like you've tried both directions, there is that option of guiding your ankle up to your knee. Now, as you flex your right foot, you can sort of decide if this feels comfortable today or if you prefer to cross at the ankle. Remembering that one side may feel a little different than the other, so you can adjust as much as you need. Maybe we inhale to lift up through your heart, and as you exhale, you could lean forward any amount. And we'll inhale our way back up through center and exhale, possibly coming forward. So that as you breathe in, you could come back through neutral and exhale to plant your feet Maybe take that little bounce in your heel. So sort of lifting and lowering one heel and then the other, softening through your feet and your legs. At this point, there's a few options. You could come back to side movement. You could take a few circles. Or if it feels interesting today, we could sort of combine our spinal wave and our circle. So as you come forward, there could be a lift in your heart. And then maybe as you circle back, there could be some rounding, a lift as you come forward. So it's a little bit of a combination of a spinal wave and a torso circle, really listening into some of the connective tissues around our rib cage, the movement of our spine, noticing how you're breathing as you're moving. And beginning to make your way through what feels like neutral today, possibly inhaling to reach up. On your exhale, you could bend one elbow so that we're reaching up with one arm. And then as you inhale, you could swap that out, reaching up with one arm and then the other. A few options here. You could either be reaching up towards the sky above you, but there could also be a sense of sort of reaching over and across to the opposite side. So that may feel like we're adding some more space into our shoulder, your upper back, slowly beginning to come through your center. Maybe you reach both arms up to breathe in. As we exhale, you're welcome to circle your wrists, slowly bringing your arms all the way down. Then as we inhale, maybe you reach right back up. And as you exhale, you could flick through the air. So really intentionally finding your range of motion in your finger joints, sending sensation and circulation down to our fingers. As we inhale, you could reach right back up. And as you exhale, maybe we wiggle our fingers, still finding more movement, and playing that invisible grand piano all the way down. At the bottom here, you may find it useful just to shake out a little bit through our hands, possibly even sweeping your arms forwards and back. Now, if the chair you're sitting in has arms or has anything that you might bonk into, just being aware of that so we don't bonk our arms into any furniture. On an inhale, we could go ahead and reach up. And as you exhale, maybe you pull down through the air in front of you. You have the option here of sliding just your left foot forward. Now, as you do that, there's a couple options. You could keep your toes lowered or you could flex your foot. And then your leg could be straight or there could be a bend in your knee. And you may feel a stretch here in the back of your left leg. From wherever you are, we're going to inhale up to your full spinal height. And as you exhale, maybe hinging at the waist, maybe leaning forward into a stretch. You always have the option to stay forward in the static stretch. So static stretch, meaning not moving. That may feel useful today. If you're more interested in movement, we could inhale to lift to look forward. And then as you exhale, you could sort of round, bow your head to come back down. So that's one way of adding movement, maybe inhaling to look up and exhaling to kind of round down and forward. So whatever you've chosen here, maybe on an inhale, you decide to lift all the way up, breathing in. And as you exhale, perhaps you bring your palms together towards the center of your chest. Maybe we push our hands into each other, activating some muscles across our chest and shoulders, breathing in. And as you exhale, releasing your arms all the way down, maybe a little shake out again. We'll go ahead and slide our left foot in, and maybe you send your knees side to side, kind of like windshield wipers. Your feet may be sort of rolling from their outer edge to their inner edge as your knees move side to side. We'll just take that sequence on the other side whenever you feel ready. So maybe you slide your right leg forward. Your toes could be lowered or you could flex your foot. You may find if you flex your right foot, that brings more of a stretch sensation to the back of your leg, maybe into your lower calf muscle or the back of your leg in some way. We'll inhale to lift up. And as you exhale, maybe leaning forward. So you're only leaning as far forward as gets you into an interesting stretch in the back of your right leg and maybe into your lower back. Your hands can support you on your legs. You could also bring your left elbow to your left knee. And then here's where we have those two options. So you may find that you want to stay here. You could stay forward in your stretch and breathe here. That could be what feels interesting today. That other option is to inhale to look forward and lift any amount and exhale to come back down. So that is available to you, maybe a lift with each breath in and maybe an exhale forward. Just noticing how this might feel into your lower back, the back of your right leg. We'll use a breath in to slowly lift up. And if you choose to, you could reach overhead to breathe in. And maybe you exhale your hands together to your heart. Once again, there's that option of pushing your palms into each other, feeling strength in your chest and your shoulders, breathing in. As you exhale, you could release your arms down, maybe a little shake out as we start to plant our feet and send our knees side to side. Now, after that kind of stretching into the backs of our legs, it may feel interesting here to sort of lift one leg at a time and just let our foot sort of swing forwards and back. And what that's doing is bringing perhaps a little bit of softness or spaciousness to our knee joint, releasing any tension that you may be holding there. And forwards and back movement is an option. It may also feel useful to take a little bit of a circle with your foot through the air. You could try that on both sides. If you're clenching your jaw in this moment, it could be an opportunity to soften the inside of your mouth, releasing any tension you may be holding in a furrowed brow. We'll go ahead and plant our feet and maybe heel toe to a little bit of a wider stance. Now, the wider stance is going to be useful to support us as we come into a bit of a side stretch. So you may want to explore letting your toes sort of angle out to the side, possibly leaning or hinging from right to left. And as you do that, you may notice that you want to use the support of your forearms on one leg and on the other. Feeling maybe a bit of a stretch from your hip up towards your rib cage on each side. And as you lean to the right, you could explore sort of looking up and to the left, maybe a little bit of rotation opening your heart. As you lean to the left, you could sort of look up and to the right, noticing what that feels like, a little bit of a spinal twist, some opening across our chest. If your arms really want to get involved in this movement, you are welcome to sweep one arm over and across and then the other. One way to connect this movement to your breath would be to inhale through center and exhale to the side. But there's no wrong way to breathe. So if you find a different way of connecting your movement to your breath, you could explore that. As you're ready, maybe you decide to come through what feels like center, probably reaching both arms up to breathe in. As we exhale, perhaps pulling down through the air in front of you. And to add something on, you could scoop up with your arms, maybe lifting your heels, breathing in. As you exhale, you could pull down through the air, landing your heels and lifting your toes. Breathing in, maybe lifting up, exhaling, pulling down as we lift our toes. There's a lot of different moving parts here. It's kind of like rubbing your belly and patting your head. So just be patient with yourself, connecting to your breath. You're welcome to inhale through your nose And exhale through your mouth. At any point on an exhale, you could rest your hands on your knees and we'll start to heel toe our back towards neutral and maybe give a little bit of a roll to our shoulders. So we're just sort of lifting and lowering one shoulder and then the other. Maybe you try that in both directions, listening to your upper back and your shoulders. And whenever you feel ready, on an inhale, you could draw both shoulders forwards and up and exhale them down and back. Maybe one more time, breathing in, lifting our shoulders forwards and up, exhaling them down and back. You have the option of reaching forward. Now, I'm just going to turn a little to the side here in case that's useful. As we inhale, perhaps pulling the air towards your heart. So you may find that you hinge slightly back. And then as you exhale, we're going to push forward, maybe leaning forward. Breathing in, pulling in. Exhaling, pushing forward. There's all sorts of different parts of strengthening you may be noticing here. If you're keeping a nice lift in your elbows, you may start to feel some strengthening in your shoulders or across your chest. As you connect your breath to your movement, you may start to notice strengthening in your lower abdominals, your hips, into your lower back. And then imagining some resistance for yourself. So almost as if our hands are moving through water instead of air, maybe even something thicker than water. I don't know why, but I always imagine chocolate. I think I just have a sweet tooth. Inhaling, pulling in, and exhaling, pushing forward. Now, on your next inhale, you could pull in and extend your arms wide. And as we exhale, we're going to float our arms down and back. And depending on what kind of chair you're using, it may be available that you can hold on to your chair behind you. And if that doesn't feel good today, you could also reach your fingers back to the wall behind you. Either way, we want to take a lift in our heart as we breathe in. And as you exhale, releasing your arms forward, maybe you cross one arm over the other and then rest your elbows on your body. You could stay here or take some side to side movement. Listening into our upper back. And as you begin to come through center, perhaps noticing which arm you have naturally placed on top, we're going to swap that out by opening our arms wide, breathing in, and exhaling the opposite arm on top. Maybe you rest your elbows heavy so that our shoulders lower down. And then you could take that side to side movement if that feels useful today. As you start to come through your center, we could inhale to open our arms wide, breathing in. As you exhale, turning your palms to face the ground and reaching side to. So what this may do is give you a little bit of side to side mobility in our rib cage, our mid back. Your arms could stay extended out. You could add a little bit of a fluid movement. Your arms are extended wide or finding this good movement. We are strengthening our shoulders, upper back, arms. Let's inhale to reach all the way up. Exhaling your palms together to your heart. As we inhale, maybe diving upward. And as you exhale, you could bring your arms slightly back and down. Perhaps a little shakeout in your hands. You may also find it useful to have a little shakeout in your feet. I find that useful sometimes. Then we'll come through what feels like a neutral spine, possibly drawing just your left hand towards your left hip so that you can turn to the left, breathing in. And then as we exhale, you could make your way all the way over to the other side. So sometimes this is called a spinal twist, looking from side to side. And the next time that you are turning to the left, maybe we pause here. Now, your right hand could come over to your left knee. And then, depending on how your neck is feeling today, you could either look forwards or look back behind you. Now, each of those is going to be a different sensation in our twist and in your neck. So, finding whichever one feels useful to you today. And we'll pause here for a few cycles of breath. Always welcome to close your eyes. Slowly unwinding back through what feels like center. And before we take our twist on the other side, maybe leaning side to side. Or if it feels useful, you could heel toe just a little bit wider and exhale your way into a wide forward fold. So essentially, we could keep our hands on our knees. We could bring our elbows to our knees. You're welcome to bring your hands down to your feet or the ground. Leaning as far forward as feels useful today and breathing in and breathing out. And then placing your hands on your knees for support will lift through our heart and rise back up through what feels like center, maybe even reaching up to breathe in and exhaling to pull down through the air in front of you. We'll heel toe back towards neutral and maybe draw your right hand to your right hip so that you can turn to the right and your left hand could come over to your right knee. And we're going to pause in our twist, and each of us, we get to decide if we want to look forward or look back behind us. Again, we're not pushing or cranking into anything that feels pinchy. Really just looking for a twist where we could stay for a few cycles of breath. Let's inhale our way back towards what feels like neutral. Once again, there's that option of heel toeing your feet just a little wider, breathing in and exhaling all the way down into that forward fold. Now, your hands could stay on your knees, elbows maybe to our knees. If your hands are down near your feet or your ankles, it may feel useful to bring your hands to the ground between your feet. You could bring your fist to the ground. Wherever we are, let's breathe in and breathe out. And gently bringing one hand and then the other to your knees so we can lift all the way up. You have that option of reaching up to breathe in. And as you exhale, you could pull down through the air. Heel toeing back towards a more neutral place, possibly reaching up to breathe in. Now, this time as we exhale, maybe you bring your fingertips to your shoulder. Now, this may feel like enough sensation. You could stay here. You could also start to move your elbows in some way. And a couple options that are available to you. You could imagine sort of swimming backwards with your elbows. It's a sort of elbow backstroke through the air. And that may give you the opportunity to sort of open from side to side, a little bit of a spinal twist as you turn from right to left, finding that movement, that range of motion up in your shoulders today. And then when you're ready, you could begin to swim forward. So a sort of elbow freestyle swimming forwards. And that may give you the opportunity to round a little bit. Maybe you bow your head, almost like we're creating more space in between our ribs and our upper back, really massaging some of those muscles underneath our shoulder blades. You're welcome to start bringing both elbows forward, maybe bowing your head, so that as we inhale, you could open your elbows, extending your arms wide, opening through your face, lifting through your heart, breathing in, and exhaling your arms all the way down. Maybe a little shakeout in your hands. Taking a moment here to lean side to side. And if you'd like, you could begin to scoot or sit back into the support of your chair. One option that's available to you here would be to bring your hands towards your face. Now, it may feel useful here to give a little bit of circular massage to your forehead. You may find your eyes closing. I often do. You could also circle that little bit of massage pressure on your temples, or possibly very gently across your eyes or your cheeks. And then there's a sort of supportive pressure point behind our ears. There's that sort of hard mound behind your ear. You could give some up and down pressure there. And if any of this isn't feeling useful today, you're welcome to find a different movement or opt out entirely. If you choose to, you could extend your arms up and extend your legs. So it's a similar movement that we began our practice with. Maybe we want to circle our ankles in our hands. Maybe taking that great big stretch, breathing in and exhaling to soften your arms and legs down so that you can get as comfy as you can possibly be in whatever chair you're sitting in today. We want to let our belly get soft, our Buddha belly. We're not sucking our belly in, we're just letting it get its natural shape. Maybe your eyes close. It's possible that you feel the muscles of your face beginning to rest, almost as if you are letting go of whatever facial expression you've been holding today, letting it melt off of your face. You may feel your shoulders get heavy, your arms soft, your legs comfortable perhaps. And you may begin to notice your body breathing in its own gentle, natural pattern, in and out. And as we take this moment to rest at the end of our practice together, my hope is that you're able to find some compassion for yourself as you observe your body breathing and resting, maybe feeling the same tenderness you would feel towards a dear friend as you watch them rest, and sharing some of that with yourself today. We'll be here for about 7 gentle cycles of breath, resting and breathing. Slowly beginning to deepen your breathing in some way. You may find that you want to heave a sigh in through your nose and out through your mouth. Honoring your body and your experience by finding whatever little movements feel useful and instinctive to you. There's no wrong way to move, no perfect way of moving. It's possible that you find a little length in your spine. You have the option of placing one hand over the other over your heart. And perhaps noticing if there are any changes in how you feel since the beginning of your practice today. And if you'd like, you could blink your eyes open if they're closed, reaching up to breathe in. Exhaling your palms together to the center of your chest. Peace and light from my heart to yours. Thank you all so much for sharing this practice with me and welcoming me into this beautiful community. I am going to scoot forward and you're welcome to unmute. I'd love to hear from you any questions you have about the practice, any ways that we can improve what we're offering here, how you're feeling, if you'd like to just share how you feel after your practice.
I always feel relaxed but invigorated at the same time.
That's great, Margaret. I agree.
For some reason, I can't find my picture. So that's
Oh,
why I'm
I,
not, that's why I'm not
oh,
communicating with hands.
okay. It looks like G just put a
Yeah,
comment. Mahalo from Hawaii. Wow, we have someone joining us all the way from Hawaii. Enjoyed the feel good exercises. Thanks, G.
Carol, when is the next class, the yoga class?
That's such a good question. I think V can probably answer that better than I can because I think Adra will be back. I'm not sure if you've met Adra before, Barbara, but
Yes.
she is the regular. Okay. Um, let's see. V shared a file that has the October calendar. Perfect. Let's take a look. It looks like the next class is on the 23rd. So next Wednesday is chair yoga.
Next Wednesday is chair yoga.
Mhm.
And recording of today's will be online.
Yes, on the YouTube page.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was great.
Of
Have a
course.
wonderful
Thanks for
weekend.
being here. Yeah, you too. Happy Halloween.
Carol, can I ask you a question?
V, sure. Let me just share real quick that V said it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for the video to be uploaded to
Oh,
YouTube.
okay. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Ross.
What role does yawning have in your yoga experience? I mean, I don't notice you doing it, and I don't notice anybody else doing it. Am I doing something wrong, or what? Am I breathing wrong, or something that all of a sudden the yawns want to
No.
come, or that the yawn wants to participate in the program? And it's like, well, okay, come on in.
Yeah, a yawn is great. I think a yawn is our body gulping in more oxygen, and so sometimes that can happen when we're tired and our body wants to sort of give our brain an extra oxygen kick. Um,
So it's
and,
not
if
releasing.
you're,
It's not
I mean,
releasing more like in goes the good air, out goes the bad. So it's not a combination of the two because it feels like there's
a release.
something that's
Yeah,
kind of stuck and then you're opening the windows and all of a sudden all the
totally,
air's either coming in or
totally.
going out or a combination of the two.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all experience that moment when you finally take the deep breath that gets all the way to the bottom and that feeling of like, oh, I made it. And then your exhale begins. And I think a yawn can really get us to that deeper breath sometimes. Um,
So it's a
and
positive. It's not necessarily a symptom of something. I've had
I
another
mean,
yoga class where the fellow was a troubleshooter, and he'd say, "Well, I can tell you what's going on in your body or whatever because you're yawning, or if it's well, I mean, it's a health thing or
well, yeah,
something
yeah,
that, like I
yeah.
said, I was the only one doing it, so I'm kind of like, uh-oh, there's something wrong with
Oh,
me,
well, I will say, just to be very clear, I am not a physician. And
right?
I don't know if the other yoga teacher you experienced was a physician, but I would be wary of any yoga teacher who starts to diagnose anyone without a medical license. um, because I
Sure.
think we do have a scope of practice, right? And so what I tend to go to is part of yoga is connecting, right? So we're connecting our minds and our bodies. And the more we can practice yoga, the more information we have so that when we do go to a PT or a physician, we have information to give them about how we're feeling. So if you're noticing that yawning in your practice doesn't feel good and feels problematic, then that's the information you take with you to see a medical professional. But if it's something that feels good, then it becomes part of your yoga practice, right?
Well, the
Um,
only time I yawn seems to be whenever I'm doing yoga. Is it my body saying, why are
I
you doing this? And I'm going like, because I want
maybe
to,
you need to take a nap.
or wake up and die right, as my mom used to say.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, of course. Any other questions or thoughts from anyone?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How often would you recommend doing this? Like on a daily basis or weekly basis or?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of live by a philosophy of I try every day to do some sort of mindful movement, right? So if I have time for a whole 45-minute hour of practice to connect with all my parts and just sort of check in and make sure everything's feeling okay, great. If all I have is standing in line at the grocery store practicing standing on one foot, then that's what I do. I think whatever fits into your schedule, but thinking about it more as how can I move mindfully every day?
I took a breathing class, which is it takes about 20 minutes to do this whole series of different breathing things, and it's extremely relaxing, but it's not as stretchy as what you're doing. So I was just curious about trying to integrate things.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of comes to like our priority list in our day, and for me, I put moving and stretching mindfully closer to the top of my priority list. Sometimes it goes above flossing, in terms of like what I have planned for. And I think if you found a great breathing practice of 20 minutes, that's a great pre-bedtime
Actually,
routine.
try not to do it before you go to sleep because it'll wake you up too much.
Oh, well then don't do it at bedtime.
Mornings are better.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you.
Yeah, of course, of course. Let's see what V says. She says you can check out our previous classes on the YouTube channel, and she's put the YouTube playlist here in the chat if anybody wants to check it out. And she reminds us that there's also a meditation playlist, which I did not know. There you go. Well, if no one else has any thoughts, which you're welcome to share, I just want to say it's been such an honor to get to know all of y'all and cover for Adria while she's been traveling. And I hope to see you all soon in the future, whenever Adria needs me to hop in. And if any of you are in Austin, you should come to my YMCA and take my class.
Thank you.
Bertha, of course. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
Goodbye, Texas.
Thank you.
Yeah.